I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here today. Happy Science Week. We're very excited as part of the Race Gippsland team to bring you our Dairies Career Panel today. One of the great things about being virtual is that we can meet from all over Australia, and I'm meeting with you today from the lands of the Kulin people, and our panelists are from the lands of the Gunai-Kurnai people. And I do wish to acknowledge the Kulin people and the Gunai-Kurnai people as traditional owners. I'd also like to pay my respects to their elders past and present and Aboriginal elders of other communities who may be here today. So a bit of housekeeping first up. We want you to ask a lot of questions. We've got some really cool people for you to hear from today. So if you'd like to anonymously ask a question, just click on the Q&A button on the bottom of your screen. If you want to be more open and share with everyone, just click on the chat button, pop your school name in there, and we'll get to you. But we might kick it off with first just giving a little bit of an overview of our dairy industry. So what is the dairy industry? So dairy is any food made from the milk of animal products. And I'm just curious to know if some of you can name some dairy foods at all. So have a little bit of a think, have a chat with each other. I'll give you a couple of minutes. So when I think of dairy, I think of four main foods. So the first one I think of, my favourite, is cheese, all sorts of different types of cheeses. We also have yogurt and butter and, of course, milk. So why is the dairy industry an important industry for us? So a lot of reasons, but I think the main one for you to think about at home is that dairy actually provides us a really nutrient-dense form of food. So it's really important to stay healthy. It keeps your nervous and immune systems going well. It's good for your eyesight, your muscle and nerve function, your bone density. And in Australia, every year on average, a person will consume 97 litres of milk, 13.6 kilograms of cheese, 4 kilograms of butter and 9.5 kilograms of yogurt. So it's really important that we've got people out there providing us with this source of nutrient-dense food. And next slide. Yep. So all the people you're going to meet today, none of them actually have a named scientist in their title, but the dairy industry is underpinned by science every step of the way. So some of the places where science is used in the dairy industry through our value chain include the management of our natural resources, for feed production, so using science to get really good pastures to feed our cows, in milk production, so we're looking at our animal health and genetics there, in processing and manufacturing, so looking at food safety and food science, even down to marketing, we look at social science. And then we've got our distribution and export transport logistics for cold food supply chains. So getting that food from the farm through to your fridge at home, we're making sure it stays safe and gets to you nice and quick along the way. So we might meet some of our panel. We've got four really cool people for you to meet today. We've got Cody Heazlewood. She's a livestock services supervisor at Hico, and Rhiannon Parry. She's a herd test supervisor and works in genomics at Hico as well. We've got Jol Sutton, who's a field services advisor at Saputo, and Andrew Holman, who's a dairy farmer. Say g'day, guys, if you want to unmute yourself. Yeah, awesome. So we're going to meet them sort of one at a time. So first up, we've got Cody and Rhiannon. So if I can get you guys to unmute yourselves there. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Happy National Science Week.
Yep.
Cody and Rhiannon, actually, Cody, I might get you to go first. Can you tell us a little bit about your job and what you do there?
Yep, so I'm livestock services supervisor. So we do freeze branding, calf dehorning, and artificial insemination as well. So we do that throughout Southwest Gippsland. So we have our office here in Kurrambara and another office in Warragul as well. And we sort of cover the whole Southwest Gippsland area out of those two offices.
And Cody, what does a typical day look like for you? Or I know sometimes in agriculture, that's a bit of a challenging question because no 2 days are the same. But if you could give us a little run through of what that work looks like for you.
Yeah, so yeah, like I said, every day is a little bit different, but we usually start our days with some AI. So we usually, it's because it's seasonal. Sometimes we may only visit 1 or 2 farms in the morning, sometimes none at all, just depending what time of year it is. But sometimes we might visit 5 or 6 farms, just AI sort of numbers of cows there. And then we'll have usually a freeze branding or a calf dehorning job on after that. So that's usually how we fill up most of our day.
Yeah. And I'm just going to stop you there. What does AI stand for?
So artificial insemination.
Yeah, lovely. And then that cow dehorning, why is that so important for you to be doing in your job there?
Just because the horns can end up being quite dangerous to the farmers and their workers and their families, also to other animals as well. So yeah, we just get rid of them just to for safety reasons.
Yeah, excellent. And Rhiannon, can you tell us a bit about what your job is there at Hico? Is it very different to Cody's?
Yes, it is. So I more supervise the herd testing side of things. So basically, we've got trucks that go out containing gear for farmers to herd test themselves. And then we also have sampling officers that will go out and assist farmers with their herd tests. So I coordinate the daily runnings of who's doing what gear is going where. And also I will then dive into helping farmers analyse their actual herd tests if they need assistance, and then guiding them into making better decisions for either breeding or the runnings of their farm and how they can improve what they've got basically.
And when you're saying herd testing, what are you actually testing for?
So we're taking individual milk samples of each cow. So, and we're analysing it for fat, protein, cell count and lactose. So basically doing that, it gives a snapshot of the farmer, the quality that each cow is producing. So it also does a volume, so they can work out how many litres that cow is actually producing each milking, and then they can make decisions according to that. So basically, the better the milk, the more, I guess they're going to want to breed from that cow if she's making quality milk. If there's another one that's not making the best milk, then they might not hang on to her and make babies from her. They might then, phase her out once she's done in her lactation.
Yeah. And does that mean our milk quality is getting better and better and better over time then?
Yeah, that's the aim, is to, produce better quality milk for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. So I'm curious, when you guys were back at school, because we should have some secondary school and primary school students in the audience, what were your favourite subjects, Cody?
I was actually right into my drama and art, so not really ag focused at all. I think back when I was in high school, I preferred the sort of what we used to call the blunt subjects. So yeah, I was more of an art and drama kid.
Yeah. And then, so how did you get interested in dairy?
I just wanted to work with animals. I wanted to work outside. It was just something that interested me. So I was lucky enough to be offered a apprenticeship, and I was not long after out of high school. So it just started, and that's where we went.
Yeah, I can imagine that sort of, I guess with arts, you've got that really empathetic side of it, and maybe that would help you with the animals.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And so you like being outside then?
Yes, yeah. We're always outside every day. Yeah.
Awesome. And what about you, Rhiannon? What was your favourite subjects at school?
I was 100% keen on sport. If it wasn't sport related, I wasn't interested.
Yeah.
It was all sport. Even I wanted to actually be a PE teacher, and started uni, and that's as far as I got, and then didn't enjoy it. I didn't want to study anymore. It's not what I envision myself doing right now at all.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Like sometimes you have an idea of what a job is, but it's not until you start sort of testing stuff out or trying that uni pathway that you might figure out that it's not quite for you.
Yeah.
How did you then get into dairy?
Well, I was basically, I rewind many years ago, I was actually working two jobs. So one as a personal trainer and one at Big W in Montague. And I really got sick of the general public. And I found people can be quite rude. And I just wanted a job where I could be outdoors and not dealing with the general public. So I literally went through the paper and seen a sampling officer job in the paper and just applied for it. Said to them, because I grew up on a beef farm, but I knew nothing about dairy, and yeah, they hired me and off I went, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's one of those things where it's when you try things, you work out what you do like and what you don't like. So from that job at Big W, you could kind of make a better next choice for your job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Okay. So this is a tricky one, but Cody, what don't you like about your job?
We don't get many days off. That's probably the hardest part. It's because it's so seasonal. Quite often, like we can get time off early in the year, but yeah, mostly we don't get a lot of days off. That's the hardest part.
Yeah. So how do you make sure that you're rested and ready to get back into work? Like, do you do anything cool in your off time, or yeah?
When I can, I try to knock off early and get home and ride my horses. So that's sort of my downtime.
Yeah, cool. So it sounds like that kind of hobby of riding your horses kind of matches up like with the lifestyle you've got, like being out with the cows as well. Like that's kind of appealing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Rhiannon, what about you? So
I'm probably a bit the same. Like a lot of our hours are split shifts. So it can be, a bulk in the morning, because obviously dairy farmers milk morning and night, and we herd test when they're milking. It's a split shifts and sometimes the long days, but I'm same as Cody. You try and just get home when you can. I have a small beef farm and I have pet cows, so I normally just go out and brush them, and that's my wind down time.
Yeah, that sounds great. So you've already both kind of mentioned some of the science that you've been doing in your day-to-day job. Is there anything more that you can tell me about science as part of your job, or, how you've learnt to do like the scientific parts of your job?
Well, I probably don't use a great deal of science with my job, but I suppose I do a little bit with like programs, like we do fixed time fixed time artificial insemination programs with cows and heifers. So I was just kind of knowing what hormones to use, when with those programs. But I think Rhiannon's sort of side probably got a lot more to do with the science with the analysis.
Yeah, so we've got like the lab side of things, and we also delve into we can do preg testing through the milk samples. And then I also play with the genomics, so delving into the DNA of calves and heifers and that sort of stuff. So I have quite a lot behind me, but a lot of mine has been learning, because as I said, like I came from my main education was not agriculture at all. So mine has been learning as I go along, and it's been the support of probably the older generation have been a lot of my learning. I haven't really studied it. It's only been trial and error between, the older guys that work here and farmers themselves.
Yeah, excellent. It sounds like you must have a pretty supportive industry then, if you are able to learn those kind of skills on the job with those people around you. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. What other kind of cool learning opportunities have you been given as part of the dairy industry?
Well, I've been very lucky. Hico sent me to New Zealand to study artificial insemination over there, also to America as well. So I've been very, very lucky with that. So that's been some fantastic learning experiences there.
That's awesome. What about you, Rhiannon?
I got a scholarship to go to New Zealand. So I got to go over for 2 weeks and talk with farmers and see their practices and procedures over there. And I also got another scholarship to go to Tassie. So same thing, got to go down and liaise with farmers down there. So it's been, yeah, really cool.
Wow, your jobs have let you travel the world. There's not many people that get to say that. I'm just trying to think, what have you had to learn to succeed at your job? So what is it about you guys, like whether it's like personal characteristics or skills that you've learned that mean that you're good at your job?
I think, well, from my experience, because I've done sort of a bit in the dairy industry, beef, sheep, driving tractors as well. And I sort of figure as long as you're willing to get involved, as long as you're not scared of hard work, you're not scared to get your hands dirty, you just, get stuck in, get involved, have a go, then people are willing to give you a go with anything in the ag industry.
That's awesome. What about you, Rhiannon?
Yeah, I'm the same with Cody. And I think you have to learn that every farm is different. So what you might do on one farm and their practices and procedures and all of that could be completely different to the next door. So long as you're prepared to adapt your skills and even your own personal mannerisms, how you talk to one farmer might not be how you talk to the next. So long as you're flexible, you can go anywhere really.
Yeah, and I think that's really exciting too, like touching on those kind of qualities and characteristics you need. We often think of science as this set of rules that you have to follow, but I guess in farming, like we're dealing with natural systems, we're dealing with lots of different systems, different people. Being able to adapt to practically implement science is a skill in itself, right?
Yeah. At the end of the day, each farm is trying to achieve the same thing. It's just how they go about it will be slightly different. So yeah, as long as you can adapt, it'll be fine.
Yeah, that's awesome. What is some advice you'd like to tell students about navigating the world of work or developing your career? Is there something that you wish someone had told you when you were back in high school?
Probably just don't be scared to have a go. That's probably my main thing. Like I said before, as long as you're not scared to get in, have a go, you're not scared of hard work, etc. You'll be fine. You don't have to always have university degrees behind you, as long as you want to have a go, as long as you want to try. That's
awesome. And Rhiannon?
Yeah, pretty similar. Like uni's not everything. So like I remember when I was at school, everything was you had to go to uni, you have to go to uni, you have to go to uni. Like it's not the be all and end all. And yeah, at the end of the day, Cody's right. Like as long as you've got the passion and the drive behind it, you can succeed at anything. Education's not everything. You can learn as you go. Yeah. And that's exactly how I've got to where I am.
Yeah, exactly. It's me too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really great reminder, especially for some of our grade 11 and 12s at this time of year, that there's a lot of different ways to make it in the world of work. And certainly you guys are two examples of that. It sounds really awesome.
I think it's also okay, like, that you can change your mind. Going from wanting to be a PE teacher to I had a crack at personal training and now I'm playing with cows. Yeah. Like it's okay to change your mind. Like it's not the end of the world. Have a go.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, thanks so much for that today, guys. We'll probably loop back to you with some questions at the end. Now we might jump across to Jol. Now, Jol's camera's not working at the moment, but we do have some really great slides and pictures we should be able to cut to while we're having a bit of a chat with Jol about his work at Saputo. How are you going, Jol? Are you there? Can you hear me? Oh. Jamie, can you hear Jol at all?
No, I can't. We might skip and go to Andrew and then come back.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so we're going to skip and go to Andrew. Andrew Holman is our dairy farmer. Now, very excited to chat with you today, Andrew. How are you going?
Good, thank you.
Happy Science Week.
And to you.
Andrew, can you tell us a little bit about your work as a dairy farmer? Now, I know many of us at home probably have a picture in our head of what a dairy farmer does, but I'm led to believe that that can be really outdated from what it actually is these days.
Yeah, well, I would say we use lots of science and skills in our job.
Yeah.
In terms of today, so today it kicks off, an alarm went off at about 5:25 this morning. And so I got round to the dairy at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
The cows, my girls in, and then milked them this morning. And we sort of continue on through the rest of the day, and all these other skills that everybody else is using, we use similar ones. So that's what's happened today.
So after you've milked the girls, what do you do in your job?
Well, everything from growing pasture through to genetics, like the girls have been just talking about there, artificial insemination, driving tractors, fixing fences, being a plumber, a nutritionist, working out their diet, what we've got on farm to feed them, what's the right product to bring in, feed them at the right price. I can be a banker, I can be an accountant. All these things are rolled in at different rates into my day.
I love it. The variety of tasks sounds like one of the most exciting things about your job.
And the best thing about it, if you find a particular interest, you can sort of probably lead a little bit more that way. So if you are somebody who particularly likes, say, growing grass, you might specialise a little bit more in that there, and that might take your interest a bit more. You're a bit more of a machinery person, or you're a bit more of a livestock person. You might have more of a passion for breeding cows, and you can sort of turn around if one particular area actually makes you more interested. There's enough people out in the industry to be able to pull in to do those other bits that you might be quite as keen on or have the expertise.
Yeah, excellent. And so where's your passion lie in the dairy farm?
I probably like it all, to be honest. That's the one thing I like about it.
Yeah.
Certain times of the year, you'll be doing a lot of tractor work. At the moment, you're doing lots and lots of livestock work. So you're breeding, your calves are being born. You turn around and bring in those heifers, the first-time mums. You turn around and bring them in, and then you're introducing them to the dairy, and you're so forth. And you're using a lot of those skills that you've honed over the years to be able to get the best out of those cows.
Yeah, excellent. Now, we do have a couple of pictures up on the screen at the moment, Andrew, so I might just get you to tell us a little bit about what we're looking at here.
Yeah, the one on the left there, that's the one of the big water supply that we have at our farm. That dam was put in the 60s after one of the big droughts.
Yeah.
One of the most pleasant things to see on a nice day, like you can see that there, it just makes that's a photo out of my office. We supply Borough Foods in Canberra, and I actually sent a photo of that to the CEO of Borough Foods in Melbourne. And I said to him, this is looking out my office window today, what's yours like? And he said, I just can't compete. Place to work.
Yeah, it looks stunning. And then
the other one of the tractor, that's one of the, we've got a few of these green tractors, the John Deeres, and that happens we won down at one of my farms down at Outram, where we were working at some ground in the autumn, put some new pasture in, and that was one frosty morning we got down there, it was -4 degrees.
Ooh.
Keen to get in the tractor and sit in there for the day.
Yeah, excellent. So,
That's another one that's actually where we carve the cows.
Okay.
So we carve them all in the shed these days. So we buy in straw that comes down from up north, either wheat or barley straw, and that's what they carve on. And then the best part about that is that as it starts to decompose, it gets warm with a bit of moisture on the straw, and the cows just like in their sort of little electric blanket. Effectively, so they carve in there, so you end up with a lot less problems when the cows don't get any muscle sort of problems and all this type of stuff. And it's the best thing we ever did was build a shed and carve them in a shed.
Yeah, excellent. It's so awesome to see all the different improvements people are making in agriculture and in dairy. Has the farming changed much since you first started? Yep.
Well, I'm actually 4th generation dairy farmer.
Yeah.
So when I went to Canberra High School, and so what I've seen the change in practices in the last 30 odd years has been dramatic. The way we actually grow grass, and nowadays we use a lot more science in actually growing it, like the leaf appearance rate and all the rest of it with ryegrasses.
Yeah.
So we're getting a lot more science there. Fertiliser, we're even started using a natural product called Gib acid that we're putting on that actually grows more grass over the winter. So with lots of advances and that we've made in growing grass alone.
Yeah. And certainly that first photo you showed us there, beautiful environment that you're in this part of the world. I guess looking after the environment is a big priority for you guys as well.
Yep, definitely. We try our best. And I've always had the attitude that wanted to leave the farm in better shape than I found it. So we do a lot of tree planting and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What I'm going to go back to the tricky question that I asked Cody and Rhiannon. What is the most challenging part of your job, or the bits that you don't like?
It's interesting because I really see farming as a vocation. As I said, I'm fourth generation, so I've been on a farm all my life. So there's lots of stuff. If somebody knocks off at 4:36 or whatever like that and goes home, well, our day's just still going, got a couple of hours left to go. And my boys are the same. They just come around and help me and all the rest of it. So they just sort of get involved in the whole farming operation. So there are probably little things that all just annoy you, like everybody that's got any job, something might annoy you on that day or you're not enjoying it. But overall, I think most of the things on a farm I do enjoy.
Yeah. I had someone once talk to me about like the difference between the hours that we might work in a city office job versus on a farm. But then like also in the city, like we could spend an hour in traffic each way going to work too and things like that. And certainly you guys can get out of bed and rock up to the shed. Is that how it works for you?
Yeah, well, I live around the road from where the dairy is, and it's a couple of K drive around the road. And it's real interesting to turn around and turn the radio on in the morning and listen to the traffic jams already on the southeastern building at 5:30, 5:45. And I'll drive around, I might see a wombat or a possum on the road, and then I just pull up, and so there's no issues driving to work. And then your day just starts from there and you can enjoy it. And if you're into, like saying earlier about being out in the open and the fresh air and all the rest of it, it's a great career, anything in agriculture. Doesn't matter what you want to do in agriculture, there's a great job out there for you.
Yeah. If you have grown up in dairying, if you were a young person listening to this talk who has no background in dairy, like what advice would you give them to have a crack at it?
If they like animals, deal directly with animals. So you might, like the girls were saying there at the Hico deal there, go in with animals. If there's something else you might be interested in, growing grass and growing plants in your backyard, well, turn around, you might become an agronomist or something like that. But I guarantee every career move that you can think of would be associated with agriculture. You might want to be an accountant. I guarantee that there's some big agricultural companies that could do with accountants. If you like talking to people, you could be in sales in the agricultural field. You know, there's lots of careers that tally directly up against agriculture.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It sounds like it's one of those places where you can have, yeah, like you said, any sort of interest you've got, you can certainly find a way to explore it in agriculture.
Correct, yep.
Now, I was also curious, given that you've grown up in dairying, how have you learnt to make changes on your farm? Like, have you studied or done any training, or do you work with any sort of, other scientists or, Yep.
Well, when I left school, I always had a passion for physics. So I studied physics and science and all that. I started doing an engineering degree.
Yeah.
That was the exact opposite. I didn't want to be, after doing that for a while, I decided I didn't like being inside. So I give that the flick. And the other interest I had was flying. So I went and became a pilot. I did my restricted, unrestricted commercial. And then I went on and did my ag rating. And then I floated all around Eastern Australia, spraying crops, spreading fertiliser and all so forth. And then I did that for a few years, and then I always wanted to go to the UK. So once again, I was saying about agriculture can take you anywhere type stuff. I went to the UK and I farmed over there for 12 months and met up with heaps of people from around the world and so forth. And I came home and basically continued on farming, and then we bought another farm or two next door and kept growing the operation from there.
That's fantastic. And I think you touched on something really interesting too with your interests. So we spoke to Cody and Rhiannon a bit about like the biology and the chemistry behind dairying, but you're mentioning the physics. So I guess the machinery would be pretty high tech in your operations these days.
Yep. We're even looking at the moment of putting collars on the cows that have got basically like a little mobile phone in there. And then there's probably, I'm not across all the actual technology, how it works, but it can turn around and when the cow's ruminating or chewing her cud and so forth, it can pick up that. And then it can turn around and with all the algorithms and all the rest of it, it comes back to the dairy twice a day. It can show you when she's on heat and when the correct do for time, day, eye. And if she's not feeling well, she's not chewing her cud enough, and all these parameters start to come up. So there's some pretty impressive technology out there. It's still cloud-based and all that type of stuff. So.
Yeah, fantastic. What's some advice you'd like to tell students about navigating the world of work or developing their career?
Yeah, I thought of this earlier, and the one thing I'll say, it takes a long time to build a reputation, like as you're going through, but it doesn't take much to destroy that reputation.
Mhm.
And so always be very mindful of what you're doing. People will give you a go, but be mindful of that.
Yep. And what are some of those behaviours, say if I was going to come work for you, that you'd be looking for in a young person who's starting out?
Enthusiasm. Because all the other bits and pieces we can manipulate. If you're not an early morning person, that doesn't matter. We'll work around that. We can set goals and change things. But enthusiasm for the job. If you don't really want to be there, there's no point. I can't encourage you to be there and all the rest of it. But lots of other stuff we can work towards it. We can go and do courses and all that type of stuff for agriculture. If you've got a particular interest, if at the moment you like driving machinery, well, we might be able to find some more tractor driving jobs. Or if you like calves, well, at this time of the year, it's a great job to rear calves, and we can start to look into some of the stuff like the veterinary side of things as to why they're not well, check their navels and all this other sort of stuff, their temperature, and what we're feeding them in terms of the nutrition, like milk, how much milk they're getting, and then you give them enough straw or some pellets, and how to turn around and encourage their system to get functioning. And yeah, so there's lots of things we can do, as long as you've got that enthusiasm.
Yeah, and it sounds to me like there's a lot of things to get enthusiastic about in doing too. That's so awesome. Andrew, we'll probably come back to you with some more questions at the end, if that's okay. And we do have Jol here now. So Jol, we're just going to pop up some of your photos that you've got with us. Happy Science Week, Jol.
Thank you. And yeah, and I'm getting into the IT science now. I've finally got my computer to work.
Excellent. So Jol, can you tell us a bit about your job and what's sort of involved in your role and responsibilities?
It's probably one of the hardest questions, actually, describing my job, because it's very, very varied, which is one of the things I love about it. And it's as a customer relations role. I mean, I've worked with with Andrew before, and as a for the, because I represent the company, and it was Murray Goulburn, and now it's Saputo. They're a multinational Canadian company that I'm working for, and so working for them and sorting out things like payments, because we pay farmers. We're their main source of income, so we like to think that we're very important to dairy farmers. And and with that comes complaints and things when we get things wrong or people perceive things are wrong, and going out and getting farmers to come from other companies to us, and then farmers leave us and go around, and so there's all that sort of company role. And then sort of probably getting into more what I really enjoyed doing is when we get it to the farm production advice. So part of the role is we get quite an involvement with farmers, and so helping out, getting bit of advice and accessing where to access advice. So I point people in the right direction for pasture management, cow nutrition, plant nutrition, effluent management, all those sorts of things. And that's one of the things I love with the job. Another major part of the job is, if you bring up, there's a slide there, dirty pipe, if you want to bring that one up there, which looks pretty gross. So keeping milk clean coming on farm is a major part of the job. And the guys in the factories that make the butter and the milk and the cheese, and they want top quality milk, and it's got to be very, very clean. And so working with farmers to keep the milk clean, and so that slide there, you've got this bacterial growth of milk there, which is pretty hideous, but it's sort of hidden in a pipe. So I had to get in there. That was actually taken with my phone, poked up a pipe to get that one. But what prevents it is proper cleaning regimes, which is chemical, because we use chemicals in hot water, but also physics. It's about getting hot water down at the right temperature and the right speed and things down your pipes to keep it clean. So that comes in there, and that's a big part of the job is the milk cleaning, so the bacteriological side of it. But also we've got there's the animal health side of it. Good healthy milk comes out of healthy cows, and so the bulk milk cell count, which I don't know how many students would be aware, but that's the white blood cells that are released into the milk. So, and they're released when a cow's got a sickness problem. So and we don't want the white cell count to be too high. So it's helping farmers with advice there on how to keep things good. And then another major part of milk quality is keeping it cool. So it's got to go into the vat and be chilled down to 4 degrees to stop any bacteriological growth. So and that's again back to physics. It's the physics that makes the vats work, and that's beyond my comprehension, a lot of it, but we help out there and pointing people in the right direction and stuff. And then another sort of string to my bow is the job is actually we do what's called quality assurance auditing. So that's you can test milk, which we do all the time at the factory, to see that it is good quality. But part of preventing it from going wrong is having a quality assurance program. So farmers have to keep records, and I've been a long-term farmer myself, so I quite understand that farmers hate paperwork, and I do. But it's helping them systems to make sure it's right. And also another component which is growing is animal welfare auditing. Just a few little things there, and if we see animal welfare issues, we've got a duty to point it out. And I'm pleased to say that in my years in this job, which is 11-12 years, I've had very few incidents which I've had to sort of operate on, and usually it's a misunderstanding or something and it can be fixed. But most farmers are in it because they like animals. And another part of the job is also financial advice. Because we provide the major part of a dairy farmer's income, we also can do loans, and we help farmers doing budgets and things like that. And also another string to my bow as well, a bit of employment advice, because like Andrew alluded to, getting the right employee is very important. We see lots of employees, but making sure that they've got the technical and the legal things right about employing people. So it's a very diverse role. Which is great.
That makes me really curious. Oh, actually, you've sent in a few photos for us to have up for our talk too. So, and I've just titled this, "How do you milk a cow?" Because we've got the photo on the left, which is how people often think it happens. But
that's right, yeah.
How big are the herds that farmers typically have that you visit?
Well, I don't think you can say typically. The smallest herd that I work with, probably about 40-50 cows. The largest would be 1,200 cows, and there's herds out there of 2,000, 3,000 cows as well. And
so milking on that left-hand side wouldn't work so well these days.
That one, yeah. And that person I won't identify, but she's actually a current quite a very good farmer, and they've got a lot more cows than that now, and has a very modern technical system. But it's just that's just an indication of how things have changed over the years with the science and the mechanical science, the physics of milking a cow, because it's where it's the point where the animal meets the machine is the cluster that the lady's putting on in that photo there, and then if you flick to the other photo of a couple of dairies there, there's the advances that are happening in. We've gone to rotary sheds, which have been around a good while there, and which is a way of milking a lot of cows. The actual point where the interaction takes place of the milking machine, fairly similar. We're talking about 150 years that there's been technical advances in it, but the basic fundamentals have been the same. And now it's sort of moved on to the robot milkers, which are that's the new science. Whether it's going to if it's taking part of the role, but there's a long way to go to making them fit our systems. But that's the machines, putting the cups on the cows, and so the technology involved with that is way beyond my comprehension. And but it's not us to understand the technology as much as how to best use it. So that's that shows some of the changes that have happened there.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. Now, you mentioned you do a lot of different things in your role. What is the most challenging part of your job, or the bit that you don't like so much?
That's different. The most challenging bit, which is not the bit that I don't like, I actually enjoy the challenge. It's people. People are all different. All farmers are different. They have got different views, different ways they're going about things. They've got different things that motivate them, and understanding that's my biggest challenge, to work with the people, and that's a science in itself. The psychology of people, and that's probably the most challenging. And there's science, and there's good science, bad science, but there's no real right and wrongs or the way people go about things. There's a few things, if they are clearly milk quality or animal health or animal hygiene, animal welfare. That's probably one of the few wrongs. But as far as systems go, there's no rights or wrongs, and that can be a challenge, but it's a thrill. Probably the bits that I don't like: paperwork. My background, I spent 25 years milking cows myself as a practical farmer, and like dairy farm, I hate paperwork, and there's too much of that comes with this job. And but it's part of the way we go about things, and as long as I can see the reason for paperwork to be there, I will I'll get on with it. And when farmers, there's some things they have to do paperwork wise, so I do spend a bit of time explaining to them why it needs to be there, because to most farmers, and they just want to get on with the job, and which I absolutely fully understand, but some things need to be documented at some stage.
Yeah. And Jol, so what have you studied to be able to get to the job? So you mentioned you were a dairy farmer. So how did you get into the dairy industry originally, and what kind of things have you studied?
I grew up on a dairy farm in the UK, and I got a place in an ag college, and part of that was I had to work for 12 months on a dairy farm before, and I went and worked in a farm in Holland as something to see a different side of things, different systems. Spent 3 years at ag college, came up with an advanced diploma there, and then sort of went farming. But since then, I've got engaged more with formal agriculture, a formal education as well, and I've done some university education there, graduate certificate in agribusiness side of things. I got diploma through TAFE in human resource management, the people side of things, and just last year I did a course through Dairy Australia, they're a fantastic provider of education for farmers and farm service providers like myself, and I did in mastitis management, and so I did a course in that. So, and done lots of little courses on the way through, nutrition, cow nutrition, and sales management. I did one because part of the role, I say the challenge a bit is customer relations, and so the sales management comes into that.
So would you say it's a continuous learning kind of environment working in dairy? I can see Andrew nodding his head.
The day you stop learning, you might as well give up, because there's always something to learn, and I just love it when I go out and learn something new every day, and it's fantastic. And but the formal education, that's the informal side of things, and as Andrew said, you can get an awful lot of that happens on farm, and it's fantastic where the farmers will teach what they know to the next generation and to their workers coming through. Very, very important. But also the underpinning that is some of the formal education things that are there at TAFEs, universities, school courses. The industry bodies like Dairy Australia put on little courses. There's one called Cups On, Cups Off. It's about basic milking management to keep mastitis down and things like that. Great little courses there for things. So lots and lots of education.
Now, what's some advice you'd tell students about navigating the world of work or building a career in the dairy industry?
It's get yourself a bit of plan where you want to go. Grab every education opportunity you can, but don't be afraid to change a plan when you see what else, because you now no idea. Your plan might be to go left and round the corner. You know, no idea what's around the corner. When I started a computer at Ag College, a computer was this great big box as big as a great big chest freezer, which stood in the corner and whirred and could do a very basic thing with it. I think we had a pig nutrition program on it, which was pretty well useless. And I think I got it into trouble because we didn't feed it enough and killed the pig. But luckily only on the computer. But that was computers now. And now from that, it's grown, like Andrew was talking about, the computer systems for cow management, where they have collars on their neck to see movements and when they're bullying and things. So when to get the AI in, when to get Cody and Rhiannon involved, and panel health involvement and on those things, and the robot milkers. So where the people aren't actually needed to milk a cow. So that those computer things. And so I had no idea about that, when I started, what's going on there, and but grab the opportunities to learn. Yeah,
and Joel, I think that sort of partly answers one of our questions that we've had in the Q&A is, are there new jobs coming into the dairy industry with tech advancements? And it sounds like you've seen the world of work change a lot since your time in the dairy industry. Cody and Rhiannon, do you see there's new jobs coming into the dairy industry with tech advancements?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Like I think Andrew mentioned it before with the collars. A lot of dairy system getting the collars now that predict when cows are ready to inseminate, their rumination, etc. I think they're absolutely fantastic, and they've been around for a few years now. But as the technology improves, they're just they're leaps and bounds ahead of what they were a few years ago. They're fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. Andrew, are you seeing new jobs coming into the dairy industry with tech advancements? Are you reaching out to new people?
Yep. The one thing I can see that's on the horizon at the moment is drone technology.
Okay.
Drones are really going to start and play the next bit. Not far from here, I know somebody already that goes and gets the cows with a drone. So they actually, and especially on a hot day, they can turn around and just let the cows dawdle home at their own pace and just use the drone. So I just think there's lots of things a drone will fit into, like in terms of observation of whether it's fences or starting to apply some of the liquid fertilizers and stuff like that. I'm working with some satellite technology to turn around and see how much grass is on a paddock and what we can do different. I think there's a whole thing there. If you have a look what John Deere's doing, they're getting in with a big company called Helicopter, I think it's called. And they got these great big helicopters or drones for doing stuff as well. So I see drones being a big thing.
Yeah. And Joel, other than the few sort of advancement areas that you mentioned before, are you seeing any other new jobs? We're hearing sort of drones and all of the collars and
we're starting to see the expectation that, and I think we're probably that's getting a bit longer in the tooth in the industry, relying on some of the younger ones to be more familiar with that, the new technologies that are out there, and the to be able to use that and apply, and probably come with an open mind about how to apply some of this technology, because the drones have been around for a while, but actually to use them is another thing. And when you get the idea, then you've got to develop the ideas and things, and that's those sort of ideas come in with with fresh young minds that have a different way. Sometimes I'd like to think that people like Andrew and I have been around a while, you sort of learn a bit, but sometimes you get a bit stuck in your way of thinking, whereas a younger person might sort of in combination with a bit of sage wisdom can be absolutely invaluable. And just that fresh thinking is great. And and the technologies that we don't know about that are out there.
Yeah, it's fantastic to hear that dairy is an industry that's embracing new ideas all the time. I think that's really exciting. And I know the Australian dairy industry has a reputation for being at the forefront of this kind of stuff. So I do have a question here, and I'm going to put it to Andrew first. Is it easy to get work experience in the dairy industry? If you were a young person wanting to sort of seek work experience, what would you do?
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy. If you want to go on farm, it's probably the sequence of what you would have to go through. Your careers teacher should be able to get in contact with something like Dairy Australia or a milk factory or something like that. If you do happen to know a farmer, and I would say even the other way will be just turn up and actually just introduce yourself. I know that's a big, brave call to do, but if you happen to be out there, most farmers are absolutely stoked to turn around and show their operation. If somebody came to my place, I'd love to show them how the whole thing all works and all the rest of it, because knowledge is power. And once you turn around and you know where you go and all the rest of it, you're set.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be hard to find.
Brilliant. And Cody and Rhiannon, you both made the transition into the dairy industry. How did you find finding work experience? Was it fairly easy or?
Yeah, I found it reasonably easy. Like, as Andrew was saying, like most farmers are like willing to show you their way. So it is definitely an industry where everyone's willing to help each other. You've just got to be there and ask. It's not hard at all. Yeah.
Excellent. Actually, before I skip to Joel, I just want to give a shout out. We do have Sarah Cornell from Gips Dairy, who is in our audience today. I'm hoping she's still here. Gips Dairy do a wonderful job of supporting young people into the industry as well. So we will get some links for people, and we'll send them out later with the recording too. Joel, work experience. Do people come do work experience at Saputo?
They do on the factory side of things. I don't have much to do with the factory side of it. I sort of get my job's really getting into a truck into the factory and then it disappears. But they do through different industries there. There's an awful lot, a whole different industry going on once you get inside the factory gate, and highly technical. I'm assuming that we do through there, and I remiss me because I don't know the contacts of them, because the programs, things have changed a bit since it's been changed from Murray Goulburn to Saputo, but there are there. There's on the farm side of it. It's usually I get asked regularly, do I know of anybody that wants to work? And I think Andrew summed it up. You just turn up with the right attitude. And turn up and ask, and I think you'll find work everywhere, because there's such a shortage of people coming into the dairy industry at the moment that the opportunities are magnificent, and all it takes is the right attitude, and and then you're up and away.
Fantastic. So Sarah is still in our audience here. I'm just going to see if Jamie, is it possible for us to bring Sarah into this conversation at all? Excellent. Sarah, are you there? Just here. Hi, Sarah. I might get you to unmute yourself if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
And I might get you to comment on work experience as well. And we also have another question around what courses or subjects are good for people to do at school if they're interested in a career in the dairy industry. So I might pose this to you first and then open it up to the rest of the panel as well.
Yeah, no worries. So just firstly on the work experience, we love finding work experience for people. The main thing I'd say is if you're looking for work experience on a farm, getting to the farm is mainly the obstacle. You need to rely on your parents or someone that you can share a lift with. But as Andrew said before, if you can't get there early in the morning for morning milking, then we can just try and adjust it with the farmer so that you're there for evening milking, for example. A lot of kids have got to work around their parents travelling to and from work and things like that. So we'll do what we can to talk to the farmer and negotiate something that works well for the student, and also ask the student what their area of interest is and discuss that with the farmer too. So definitely Nicole and Jamie, you can send out my details with the recording. And we take people at Gips Dairy directly for work experience as well. We had a student recently. We place people on farms, and then they also place people with other organisations such as Hico or at the DPI Smart Farm at Ellenbank as well. So, and then also we try and get, if people really love the work experience or they might do a supported workplace placement through their school, we can help students get into traineeships, school-based traineeships, or dairy traineeships where they leave, if they want to leave school as well. So we can help with both of those things. In terms of subjects, I guess, well, as we've discussed, so many different subjects relate to different roles in the dairy industry. So if you want to roll with, animals and on farm, then obviously agricultural subjects or your animal science subjects at school, biology, that type of thing. There's also roles that we have through Gips Dairy and Dairy Australia, which are marketing and communication type of roles. So you could do any of your drama studies or photography, art subjects like that. If you want to get into the technology side of it, then IT and digital subjects. So if you're interested in genetics and genomics, and again, biology, if you're interested in data collection and you want to get into that field, then your mathematical subjects. If you want to get into research, then any of your science-based subjects. So there's a whole host.
Yeah, excellent. And I think we heard from all the other panelists too, it's not just about subjects, it's about that attitude you bring with you to work. So I guess that's probably one of the most important things. And we talk about science, being curious, being proactive. We heard Andrew mention, build yourself a reputation for being reliable. So I imagine that involves being punctual and showing up when you say you're going to show up. Cody and Rhiannon talked about, just embracing learning opportunities and, having that enthusiasm. Jol mentioned the enthusiasm, bring that enthusiasm with you. Does anyone on the panel have any final words? I might just do a quick round the room. Cody and Rhiannon, we'll start with you. Any final words for our audience today?
Just have a go. Yeah. Yep.
Have a go. Jol, any final words from you?
Yeah, just keep an eye out for all the opportunities that are out there. There's lots of opportunities.
Keep an eye out. Sarah, I'll just skip to you quickly.
So there's plenty of opportunities, but also don't be afraid to speak up. If you're, especially a work experience student and you're on farm and you don't understand or you don't know where something is, or you feel like you need a bit of help, don't be afraid to just ask. Just say to the farmer, this is all new for me and I need a little bit more guidance.
Yeah. And Andrew, our farmer, I've left the final words for you. Any final words for our audience?
Well, thank you very much again for being invited on. But look, to any student that's out there, do subjects that you enjoy, because once you've got in those subjects and you've really done well at school, all the rest will follow on. If you take that enthusiasm, which I think has been a thread through the whole day, you can succeed in any career move you want. But you do subjects that you enjoy at school, and then the rest will follow.
Excellent. So we just had a couple of final slides. So as you can see there are a lot of careers in the dairy industry. There's lots of jobs going, but like Sarah mentioned, there's careers from everywhere, right through transport, research, marketing, all of those sorts of things. And, there are jobs opening up. Dairy is a growth industry. There's a lot of jobs going and bright futures for young people who want to make their way in dairy. And then finally, to learn more about careers in dairy, certainly we've had Dairy Australia mentioned. We'll get Gips Dairy's contact details out to you. There's also Career Harvest if you'd like to have a look at agricultural careers more broadly there. And I'd like to highlight Embrace Gippsland, we do have learning modules that are accessible to all teachers, and we've designed one particularly around diving into dairy data. So you can learn a little bit more about the data that is behind the decisions that farmers are making. Like we've learnt today, it's an industry driven by science, and I hope you've all enjoyed and learnt something a little bit more about careers in the dairy industry today. Thank you, panellists, for being with us and giving up your generous time. We really appreciate it. And hope everyone enjoys the rest of their afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.